Hello, everybody. I'm David Thomas. This is Mr. Bo Gill.
Hello.
We're here with Real Talk here on Shelbyville Now. It is May the 1st. We're going to give y'all a few seconds to get logged in because I know this is middle of the afternoon when we do these. There's not a lot of people around, so it takes a little while for people to see it. A lot of people come back and watch it later, of course.
That's right. Yeah.
But we want to kind of give an update today on our tariff situation. We've been trying to stay on top of that.
The tariffs.
And it looks like there's not been any real solid deals cut, but there's supposedly a lot of talk going on in the background. Well, the background is one thing, but Main Street is another thing, Bo.
That's right.
And I'll just tell you, we got a email today from one of our major suppliers that basically said, we don't know what's going to happen next, but we know prices are fixing to go through the roof.
Yeah.
And that's just on just about every product.
Yeah, so that means
the board
things are going to go up.
And it's because everything is imported. All the stuff that we get from them is imported. China, the Philippines, South Korea, all the Asian countries, some in the Middle East, like in India and Pakistan. Right. All these are going through the roof.
So it's not really a question of when when it's going to go up. It's how much is it going to go up. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm hearing, these crazy percentages now, like 150 to 300%.
We're at the point now to where this 90-day freeze that was put on the reciprocal tariffs, by the time some of the stuff that's ordered today gets delivered into the port, manufactured and delivered, the 90 days is going to be over. So they're counting on the big tariffs hitting that was lit on the list. You know, some of these 40, 50, 60. Yeah. And China, they're not even going to ship us anything right now.
So we shouldn't. We're really, I'm still not hearing a lot of anything going up majorly, but there are a few little individual, like the little piece that you brought on the show the other day, several of those. But let me tell you something. Nothing really retail is going down. You're not finding any deals anywhere. And I believe you're seeing a lot more empty shelves on there's been a few items that I've looked at in particular on the toothpaste. And maybe it was just the place I was at, but I've gone back twice and it hadn't been there, which is usually there. I don't know if that has something to do with it.
It could be.
It might be, individual retail thing, but I'm trying to keep my eye out for these things. Nothing's cheap though right now, so it's
hard to tell. I mean, well, when something's high and it's like then goes up a lot higher, you'll know.
That's when you'll know.
This shirt, for instance, it's made in China. Okay, it's a real good brand. It's good quality. Everybody associates cheap when they think of China, or Philippines, or Vietnam, but their quality has gotten so good because the people they're selling to are holding them to a higher standard, so they had to increase.
Because that's all the only producers, right?
So this shirt retails probably for about, let's just say $46, $47.
Mm-hmm.
If they continue down the path with that same supplier, this shirt's going to probably cost $130. So I can't afford that shirt at that point.
No, so I guess the long run of this is to hope that Americans will start their manufacturing and start manufacturing that shirt and then slowly beat the Chinese and get a quality shirt, because we want that quality. And you're right. Whenever it was made in China at first, it was like, China
it's all junk,
and they still make junk. They still do.
But they'll make whatever you want.
That's right.
They'll make junk. They'll make good stuff. They'll sell you the junk.
That's right.
I promise.
But that's it. It's the long term. But in that in between, there's going to be a little bit of struggling, I believe, on prices. There's going to be a lot more conservatism. We're going to have to conserve, physically conserve all of our resources and I think it'll produce these minds, because we've got great minds in America, to start thinking on their own and producing their own and getting up, off their and innovation. Struggle leads to innovation.
Well, I've been just looking at how can we source these products from the United States. A lot of the raw materials, and I talked about this before, the little snap, and we get a lot of hardware like that. And I'm gonna take, for instance, this pencil or this ink pen, and I use a lot of lead pencils too. That's got an eraser on it because I make a lot of mistakes.
I do too.
All right. So I need the eraser. All right, but that pencil used to be made in Shelbyville, Tennessee.
It sure did.
I mean, we are known as the Pencil City. And I don't know how much manufacturing is done in Shelbyville now. I think that maybe Musgrave might still be functioning to some degree.
Yes, they are. And I think there's more, we do more packaging and more delivering. It's interesting. And you shared with me that there was a part that you were having trouble to get, and you tried to get it locally made.
You can't do it.
You can, but it's totally cost ineffective. It's like So, I mean, that right there, whenever we can get to where you can go and right around here and get all these things, but that's just the in between. That's going to take a long time. But you're right. Shelbyville was the pencil city. We're still claimed to be pencil city.
We're not making pencils anymore, except for those few that keep going strong and that. They're going to continue to do what they got to do, and my hat's off to them.
Yeah,
they continue.
When we say make it, they cut the trees here, like cedar. The
cedars
they
get
here.
The cedar slats, and they start slitting them things up.
Bedford County pencils.
Yeah,
a lot.
Our city has a display, and it's not our city, but it's at the Smithsonian Institute of one of the first automated pencil machines that was done right down here at Empire and Musgrave, and I think Musgrave had that patent on that machine.
Yes.
And it's on display up there. I got to see it in person back when I was in high school a long time ago.
That's Shelbyville history right there.
But this goes back, Bo, to what we were talking about just a few minutes ago. The pencils, the ink pens, all that stuff is no longer made here.
No.
But I want to take a step back in time, Bo.
Let's take it.
You go back to the greatest generation ever. It's those men and women that were born from about 1900 to probably 1930.
Yep.
In that time frame. They grew up in the Depression.
Give or take a few years in that area, yes.
And it made me start thinking, okay, what did they do? How did they survive the Depression? Come out of that as kids and then get out and make an impact on their world to the point that they built America. The rebuilding of America after the Great Depression was built on their backs.
That's right.
On their sweat and blood. And I lost my dad this week.
Yes. And we're very sorry for that. He was I guess a city or a county or local, I guess one of the part of the legends there, the fabric of this community.
I started just making a list. Okay.
There's a lot of those.
I look at those. I look at your granddad. Okay. I look at some of these pillars of the community from that time, that greatest generation. And I got to thinking, all right, what did they do? How did they live their lives? I want to start talking to family members. I want to start talking to your family. I want to talk to other families. And I want to share that with this community because we've gone astray. Those guys that decided they were going to just sign up and volunteer to go to World War II and fight in the 1940s. That's the last of the greatest generation right there.
It is.
Your granddaddy was one. My dad was one. And I know there's several other. They left high school.
Yeah, right. They
17 years old.
Well, even that, if they were born in the 20s, just think as adolescents, they're facing the Great Depression, seeing their parents having to, struggle like that. They get out of the Great Depression, and then what hits in 1939? World War II. Then the United States gets into it in 1941. So now they're having to go to war.
And now all through our history as a country, we've had just seems like a war and another war. There's always conflicts. There's always going to be that. But World War II, we were facing a massive enemy and possible extinction.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, there was extinction happening.
Yeah.
In large degrees.
Yes. It was massive. Okay. But those guys and those gals, the ladies too, they used their work ethic and their principles that they had. Mm-hmm. It was just about making and helping everything be better, helping people. It wasn't about making money.
No.
It was about surviving and building back.
It was good versus evil because it was total evil, and they had to do it or else because the other was a total takeover by the other side, the Axis powers. They came together, and then they came together and they brought it back home. They brought it back home, and they saw what the real evil was. And I believe that just it just lit a fire of innovation in America. It produced our. Look at our technology. Look at
it was on the backbone of that. They were the backbone of the start of it.
Where do we get back to that? How do we? I feel like we've lost a lot of that.
I think we have to go back, Bo, and it's just like reflect. That's what I've been doing.
Yes.
I think I look at Kenneth Cooper.
Yes.
Founded Cooper Steel. I look at Gary and Barry. They're my cousins. I look at what they've watched.
Yes.
Okay. Their dad.
Yes.
And you and your family have watched Mr. Wheeler. And I've got a list of men here in Shelbyville, Tennessee that fit that mold. Some of them were factory workers. Some of them were business owners. But they had the same work ethic. They had the same principles. And they lived their lives like no other. And I think we need to look at that. And if we can still somehow get a pattern for that and change the way we're doing things and do that. Because it wasn't about it wasn't about all them getting rich. A lot of them were turned into successful business people. But you know what I see? They constantly shared.
They shared. It wasn't about the huge house and the big fat wallet. You know, it was about family and what's important in a small town. And I want to get back to that, you know, because when it all comes down to it, family is the most important. And it would be great if this whole city, this town could get it.
Let me give you an example of how, this has been not just overnight, and I'm not saying it's about today's problem, but look at today's problem. We have a city government suing a county government. Now, that taken place in 1945 or before or a little after, in the time frame with these guys at the helm, they would have sat down and they would have talked it out like gentlemen and walked, and it would have been fine. And it probably never would have come up to start with, because they would just viewed this as they weren't out for themselves, Bo.
No,
that was the thing.
No,
and that's where we're so wrong right now.
We're smack dab right in the middle of that. Yes, where we have to talk through lawyers. Yet we can talk to each other when we see each other, but no, when it comes to the real business.
Well, some people won't even speak now.
You're right.
And it's all about opinion. If you got an opinion, then that means everybody else is wrong.
Yeah,
that's not true.
Yes.
We can all have opinions. We can discuss it openly without getting offended.
Oh yeah, but people don't accept that, and
Back
they think,
then,
you know, when you have an opinion, you know, I do have an opinion, and I'm wrong sometimes, and I want to talk about it. I'd love to talk about it.
The difference was back then, if they had a difference, they talked about it, and they were still friends.
That's right. But this type of way, if you have a difference, you're cut off and you're hated.
I know.
And that, you know, I hope. Look, I've got a lot of hope, but I try to set an example. I do, because I was an example was set for me, for my father, for my grandfathers, my parents, my mother, my dad, my good friends. But you know, I feel like that I fail every day, but I do strive to set that example, and it's not to be, you know,
I'll tell you,
but it takes each one of us, and it's a hard task, but I know that we can all together get into that and make this place just thrive and safe. And
I look at this list of men, and I know that the kids of these people, if they strive to do their very best, and they failed, they got an encouragement from them, and sometimes a kick in the rear end.
Oh yes.
The kicks in the rear ends have gone away. We need to be kicking ourselves in the rear end right now and asking ourselves, why have we done this?
That's right. That's right.
And to take responsibility.
Yeah, the list of those men, they you see the successes. They could probably triple all the failures that they had with those, and the failures are what made them be remembered.
I'm gonna call some of these out.
Please do.
And this is just, I just started writing these down.
And there's so many.
Came on, and there's so many. But I'm just gonna look at Auburn Wheeler.
Yeah.
Bill Daniel. G.S. Gordon, Bill Cannon, Charlie Canner, Kenneth Cooper, Elbert Landers, Coy Landers, Bertie Slanders.
The Landers.
Yeah. Wayne Cartwright, Ewing Cartwright, and then now Wallace Cartwright.
That's right.
Okay. Austin Davis at the Shelbyville Record Shop.
That's right.
Tip Thompson selling his suits on the square. Billy Hicks.
Go get your loan.
At back in People's Bank, and then later First Community Bank.
Yes.
And then I look at his cohort there,
Bud McGrew.
Bud McGrew.
Oh, yeah.
All of these guys, the Huffmans, the Brantleys, the Capertons, Knox Pitts, all these people that came up that were that greatest generation, they left something for us, and we've ignored it. It's time for us to start looking at these men. And I would like to do a project, and that's what I'm going to work on. Shelbyville Now wants to do a project, and maybe it's going to take a community effort.
It is.
For us to look back at these people.
Yes.
And try to learn something from them today that we've forgotten.
Yes.
And I just kind of how I want to end today's conversation.
If anybody has a name or idea, share it with you, you know, or a story.
And for people that are new to the community, let's say that's been here in the last 20 years, some of these names that are going to come out you probably never heard of.
Right.
But if we told you their story, you would see their footprint.
Right.
And that's what I want to do. I want to tell these people's story so that people can look today to see how that person had an impact, and they see it, even though they didn't even know about it.
Right. Well, and also, David, just the viewers, I mean, you've got a lot of people that support us, you here. We just want to just give our condolences again to your father. I mean, he lived a long life, 99 years to celebrate. Yeah. But we just, you know, we are thinking of you and in our prayers. And I know I don't speak alone here on that matter. So thank you.
Thanks, Bo. And thanks for everybody watching. Look forward to doing this, and I think this is probably going to be one of the missions.
I love it
for Shelbyville now, and other. I just hope the whole community will come together.
We can grow
and
on
start reflecting back on our history so that we can forge forward.
I like it.
Thanks for watching, guys.